Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another rousing rendition of what we like to call here at the BREADren Podcast Cocktail Convos, where we like to have casual conversation about life and business with people who we consider success veterans. I'm astonishingly joined by not only my guest, but one of our co-hosts, Mr. Deshaun Wells. We'll get to him in a second, but shout out to our other co-host, Dr. Jamu Loving, PhD, CFP of Loving Consulting LLC. But Mr. Wells, how are you doing today?
It's all good, bro. What's happening?
I'm pleased and ecstatic that you have joined me for one of these fireside chats, as we call them. Obviously, it's probably because our guest is much more interesting than me, and she's also a Tuskegee alumni. So let's get straight to it. We have with us corporate leader, mogul within the corporate world. Look, the list, that'll be the whole episode, but okay. We've got a former certified system brand sales specialist, power system sales specialist, WebSphere sales specialist, event manager for all different sectors of one of the largest companies in America, Fortune 100, Fortune 50, if you really know, social responsibility program manager, and currently sales development representative for a large company. We won't say the name unless she does. We welcome fellow Tuskegee alum, all around amazing person, Miss Alicia Brandon. How do you do today?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm outstanding.
That's amazing, blessed and beautiful. But we're gonna have a conversation today. We're gonna dive into how you racked up so many titles like belts, like you know what I'm saying? Like a young Mike Tyson coming through the ranks. You just undefeated, just getting them up. Like, what y'all got? Let's go. We're gonna get into that. But before we start, we always like to take a toast, make a cheers, take a shot to a wonderful conversation. Bread being dropped and crumbs being picked up by those who need them. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Yes, sir.
So let's start with this. The byline says passionate about DE&I. For those who don't know, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not DI, it's DEI. Education policy, education reform, exposing minorities and girls to STEM. That's another acronym. Science, technology, engineering, and math. Some folks like to throw an A in there and call it STEAM for arts. And she loves HBCUs. Obviously, she went to one of the best ones in the country, the illustrious, that's with two E's, THEE, Tuskegee University. But Alicia, the first question I want to ask you is, what is your mindset in the corporate world? Because from your repertoire, we come from Tuskegee. We know career fair, we are for lack of a better word, we're bred to really get in there and do it. Mm-hmm. We don't take less than nothing. We going in with a plan and with focus. So what, when you first got out and got, with the company, rewind real quick. The company that you're currently with, you started with them and then you left and you came back, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So now that's in our frame of mind. But what was your mindset, your goal when you got into corporate? And like I said, you work for a big company. Everybody is, they know who this company is. We're not going to say it unless you do, but everybody's affected by this company. So what was your mindset coming to this grand corporate structure?
Listen, I was determined to grind and get it, because that's exactly what I learned at Tuskegee, was how to grind and get it. Means necessary, ethically, of course, right? I ain't trying to step on too many toes, but I do get it. And it hasn't been easy, but I do feel, and I recently received this question, like, well, do you feel like your HBCU prepared you for corporate America? Absolutely. And mainly because it's all about networking. A lot of times it's not even what you know, it's who you know. And an executive recently called me, and I'm gonna add this to my resume too, or that all them titles, was Chief Connections Officer. And if I don't know it, baby, I'm gonna find somebody that knows it or know how to do it and is connected to it. That's one of the key things I learned at Tuskegee is how to network. You know, we know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that does what that person needs to get done.
This man just licked his pen.
Would you say, Destry?
This man just licked his pen. But
go
ahead.
Yeah, look, you know, we released a video version now, so I had to give it the effect, you know, old school. I wrote that down. Chief Connections Officer, CCO. Don't all y'all go throwing that in y'all LinkedIn bios and stuff now.
Don't be stealing that. Let me trademark that right quick.
Look, let me know when you trademark it. Then we'll release this because you know people.
Right, on it. That's all right.
People be people.
Scared of word.
So you came in very determined, and a lot of your positions were obviously very sales oriented, sales focused. But you recently held a position before the one that you currently have, where you were over corporate social responsibility. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you're passionate about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So talk about how that really aligned, because for years you've been sales oriented, and we know Destrian is also in the corporate, and DE&I just got hot. Right. Let's be honest. It wasn't. Nobody had no head of DEI.
Nope.
5 years ago, really.
Right.
10 years ago, it definitely wasn't a thing. So it's one of them sexy titles that everybody got now. Now they're gonna start having conferences and certifications in it. But I can only imagine that you were very deliberate about bringing something like that to where you were. So talk a little bit about your passion and how you were able to bring your passion into this corporate space where, they kind of tell you this is your job, and the higher you can go is in that silo. It's like, all right, you good at sales, the highest you can go is head of sales for everybody. How do you bring your passion in now, and in a time where it's like, okay, we're looking for it, and they can pick anybody, but let's talk a little bit about the bringing your passion into corporate.
Absolutely. It's a great question. So as you mentioned, I did start in sales. My background, my degree is in sales and marketing. And honestly, I didn't want to go into sales, but I knew going into sales was going to be the easiest way for me to get to marketing, just being completely honest. When I was at Tuskegee, I never did an internship. I don't recommend that because I had to grind a little harder and, push my brand a little further to get the opportunity that I did at IBM. I'll say it. Because IBM was never on Tuskegee's campus either. They didn't start showing up until after I was there. I ain't gonna take credit, but I'm gonna take credit. We need to do better, and I'm still pushing for that as well. But nevertheless, so when I took the sales job, I knew that it was just gonna be temporary. I was going in there to learn, to grind, to get it, and figure out my way to move to marketing. And so I was in sales for a couple of years, and then you mentioned I left. I actually got laid off, right? What is it? Last in, first out was my situation. And so I got laid off right before President Obama took office when we were in a recession. And I left and did some work that it was all right, but it was a bag, a little bag, but I had to do what I had to do to pay my bills. And so I worked for a real estate investment firm, and then got called back to IBM and say, hey, we want you to come work on the software side of the business. And I knew that's where the money was, baby. And that's really where my career took off. I fired on all cylinders and just really made it work for myself. I ended up getting a promotion that moved me to the field and moved me to Philadelphia. And then once I was in Philadelphia, I had sold everything. My territory was literally dried up. When you hitting 200% quarter after quarter, not to toot my horn, but beep, beep. I wasn't really making any money outside of my base. And when you in sales, you there to make money, right? Ain't that right, Destry? And
absolutely.
So I was
100%.
Like, absolutely. So I was like, all right, now I think it's time for me to pivot to marketing and really get into something I'm really passionate about. I've always been a lover of planning events and things of that nature. Let me see how I can parlay this into a corporate job. Again, bringing that passion into your professional career. So literally the stars align, and it's all about having a conversation. People will be scared to talk to people, but the thing I never forget, one of the most lessons and so simple that somebody taught me was, people are people. We all humans. Executive, whatever you got, all these letters, alphabet you got behind your name down mean nothing. Can we cuss on here? Because I cuss.
Yeah, you can cuss.
Everybody put their pants on one leg at a time. Like, don't be afraid to talk to people. So it started with a conversation. I went to my manager and said, hey, my territory dried up. I'm not making any money. I'm not happy. And hey, by the way, I want to move back to Atlanta and move to marketing. That sounds like a lot, right? So I'm thinking it's going to be a very difficult conversation. And he looked me dead in my face. He said, cool, we'll just apply.
I don't want people to gloss over the fact that you as a Black woman in corporate America went and, expressed exactly what you wanted, how you felt, and what you needed.
Right.
That is, and it is great. I just got off the phone with one of our friends and colleagues, and I told him, I was like, you're operating from a position of power, just the space he's in right now in terms of corporate. You're operating from a position of power, and what you just expressed is operating from a position of power where you have the confidence, you have the know-how, the articulation, and all the things that you need to be able to go into that space and say what you need and want. So my next question, number one, is the position where you ended up, getting events manager, and like I said, you were the events manager for different sectors, government. Certain areas, different teams and softwares and initiatives. Were those positions there already, or was it because you had the conversation? How much did the conversation play into you getting it? Because obviously, even if the position was there, everybody can apply, but you went a step further, maybe not even knowing if the positions were there, just like, hey, look, this, something got to give. I've maxed here. I've hit a ceiling. So either it's, move me up to executive or,
But see, bro, what you're talking about right now is something that I feel like, a lot of people struggle with in corporate, but specifically women, our women, because, you're a double minority, maybe triple sometimes, and you're coming into a situation where once you start making a little bit of money, like Alicia was saying, like, okay, I got a little bag. You don't even want to mess that up, because you're like, hey, I'm doing better than most people. But then
want to rock the boat, man.
But you plateau. And so if you don't demand it, literally almost demand it, especially when you're a high performer. So you got to have the performance to back it up. We already know she did, coming from where we from. But when you ask for it, it moves them into action. So I think your question was super dope, but I also wanted to tack on to the end of it. How do you get them to move to action?
Man, you got to push. You absolutely have to push, and it wasn't easy. I'm not going to say that I just woke up like, I'm going to ask my manager this. It was many of those, if you watch Insecure, those Issa Rae moments when she in the mirror and she hyping herself up. It was me, okay? Like, you got this. Get your bread, sis. Hyping myself and really, for real, hyping myself, really convincing myself that you got this, you got the confidence. And literally my manager was like, apply. And I applied for the role and the stars aligned. I don't do any of this without faith either. I'm a strong believer in God. I do pray. He done got me through a lot. Okay. And so I was selling WebSphere software, and the marketing team needed someone to market WebSphere software. I already knew the product. I just need to learn how to market the IBM way, right? The only marketing I knew was in the textbook. And it was a huge learning curve. But my manager at the time was from Cincinnati. Shout out to my home team. Who they? We just, we in the Super Bowl, but we went. But
some folks don't make it. Some folks don't make it.
Well, she made it. She made it to the Super Bowl.
Right. I was at the Super Bowl. But we were literally like homegirls, and that was just divine intervention for me on that piece. But I still had to have the knowledge, the ability to ask for it. And so ultimately I got that job. But that first marketing role wasn't even in events. It was demand programs, or basically a campaign manager. So doing everything from end to end marketing. And so I had a conversation. Again, it's always this conversation. Y'all got to speak up for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. You're your biggest advocate. I told my manager early on, I love marketing, but what I love even better is events. And so what happened was, maybe 12 months later, probably not even, my manager remembered that conversation. So when IBM decided they were going to break out marketing into all of these disciplines, it was like campaign manager, event manager, social lead, all of these different things. She tapped me and said, hey, I want you to be the event manager for, at the time it was Hybrid Cloud. Hybrid Cloud has come all the way back again. But when it was trying to be big the first time, it's even bigger the second time. But she tapped me for that role, but she would not have if I didn't have the conversation. You have to be very intentional about what it is that you want. And I knew that's what I wanted. So you asked me how I moved around to the different divisions. That really just kind of happened. There is a lot of, reorganizations in corporate. And they might need more people on their team and less people on that team, but it was a blessing for me because I learned so many different things. I work with developers. I remember showing up in a suit at a developer event and they looked at me like I had 4 heads because why? Everybody else had on a t-shirt and jeans and sneakers, but I learned quickly, went to Ross and bought me a new outfit for the next day. Working in federal, I was shaking hands and kissing babies with 5-star generals. I mean, it just was a lot of different opportunity. And every role that I had, I was gaining more and more skills. And so when the corporate social responsibility role came about, I was like, yo, this is perfect. It bridges everything that I like to do in my personal life, like volunteerism. I'm very passionate about DE&I, very passionate about making sure people like me, like us, are in STEM because there aren't a lot of us and the bag is big and we need to be taking advantage of it. So I'm like, this brings everything like together that I wanted to do. That by far was my favorite role at IBM. I had some unfortunate things happen that we would probably need a whole podcast to talk about. So I had to end up coming back home is what I say, coming back home to sales. But I wouldn't have been able to come back home to sales if it wasn't for my brand. For me, knowing people, talking to people, setting those intentions. I literally picked up the phone and say, hey, I'm in trouble. I got a dickhead manager that's trying to fire me, which I got over there. In 2 weeks, I had a new role. Again, comes back to that conversation and knowing what it is that you want for yourself and not being afraid to ask for it, period. The worst they can say is no. Then what? Figure out somebody else is going to give you the yes. But that comes back to me, having that sales background, right? You keep asking until, you get your yes.
Overcoming objections.
Yeah.
That's your only objective is to overcome objections. The 3 O's. Write that down, DJ. Your only objective is to overcome objections. Yep. Write it down.
Absolutely.
But you hit on a lot of key things right there. Some that you kind of brought up and it came up again is you were laid off by IBM and then you came back. I think it's also important to know everybody don't come back from that. Like everybody don't get hey y'all, sorry, we hit some tough times. Need y'all to go to the house. We can't pay you. Cobra, those kind of things. All right, y'all, we back on our feet. Everybody come back. Everybody doesn't do that. And I think that speaks volumes to what you deem your brand within the corporate world. And a lot of people think brand is like you have to have your own company, but in the realm, anywhere you are really, like you are a brand of sorts, and everybody has to engage in some sort of sales where it's like, okay, you have to bring value, you have to bring integrity and all of the key components of character that people are looking for. But I want to go to when you were in your social corporate responsibility role, is you were able to bring in some initiatives and implement and create and develop the IBM P-Tech, which is Pathways to Early College High School in Georgia. Let's talk a little bit about that and how important that was for you to be able to actually not just take what IBM wants you to do, but to say, all right, this is mine. This is my baby.
How you make it your own.
Right.
How you make it your own. How people experience you as opposed to experiencing IBM.
Right. Absolutely. And that's really, I think, what got the deal done, to be honest. Right. So as you mentioned, P-Tech, and it's actually one of my proudest moments of my career. I've been at IBM now for 13 years, and that literally is my proudest moment. When I joined the corporate social responsibility team in 2019, it was a month after I buried my father. And, I was coming back, starting to bring new role, still grieving, right? Just trying to figure it out. But I was also, excited, because I was moving from marketing, now moving to this cool new role that was going, give me the platform to really impact change and this, that, and the third. But in one of the first projects I was assigned to do was go to Brooklyn, where the first P-Tech school was created 10 years ago, and learn all about P-Tech, meet the people, all of that. I had opportunity to meet the students and staff, and I was really inspired. And I was inspired for two reasons. The first reason is because, my dad, the legacy that he built and the things that he instilled in me was education. And he would always say to me, if you get a good education, you can write your own ticket in this world. You can do and be whatever you want to be. And I always knew that. But what I did not realize, and it's my own privilege, because Black people have privilege too, let's be honest, is that wasn't equitable for everybody that looked like me. And so when I start hearing about P-Tech and being at this Planet P-Tech conference and learning everything, it was just like a fire. Like, listen, we got to bring this program to Georgia. Why don't we have it? Like, this is stupid. They had tried it. It didn't work. And I really made it my personal and professional goal to bring that program to the state of Georgia, mainly to honor my father, because I believe in what he said about having a good education. And I wanted to make that equitable across all students that look like me. Because a P-Tech school, or program rather, is targeted for underserved minorities. We know what that means, Black and brown people. So I came back and I was on a rampage. I was ready. They had tried it, a couple years prior to me. It didn't work. I literally leaned on my network. I was calling sorors that I knew that was at the Department of Education. Shout out to, she's now gone on to glory, but I really appreciate her for doing what she did for me in that program, and just connected me to other people. Like, okay, my connection stopped here, but somebody else can pick it up and move it. And I was relentless. I was literally not taking no for an answer. Oh, you won't do it? Okay, well, let me go talk to this person, and let me talk to that person. And I found a college, a technical college, that was like, no, we love this program. And I found a high school that was like, oh, yes, we need to get in this program. And it was IBM, because it's a three-legged stool. We needed those three components to really make it happen. Another overlay of that was we needed government backing. The unfortunate thing about the United States is that public education is the first thing cut, right? And the last thing funded. So it wasn't an easy feat. So I pushed and pushed and pushed and was like, look, if we already have the three components, let's worry about the government stuff later. The cool thing about Georgia is we have dual enrollment. There's a lot of schools that have dual enrollment where that allows students to get a high school diploma and a college degree. The only fancy thing and dope thing really about the P-Tech program, not only, but the thing that really makes it a difference is the fact that we provide paid internships. I mean, we're talking about these kids getting like bank for the summer, as well as, mentors. So it's people like me and yourselves who will show up and mentor these kids, and then they're focused on a STEM related field. And so the P-Tech school that I was able to bring to Georgia is focused on cybersecurity. Them kids gonna come out of school at 19, 20 years old making $80,000. Now, I know if you was an engineer, that's probably what you came out of school making, right? But we're talking, but you were, 21, 22. We're these kids, 19 or 20 years old. First people, a lot of time, first generation college graduates making $80,000. Do you know the community? And that's what it's all about, is making sure that we're inserting this technology for good to address societal issues. And the fact that Black and brown people are not making the wages that they need to pour back into their communities, that's problematic. So programs like P-Tech help to remedy that. So I'm so super proud of the program, and I hope it continues to grow, from one school to be like hundreds.
Most definitely.
I love it.
And I already see right now, I can kind of tell, like, if it ain't going the way that you think it should go, you'll probably just go tell somebody like, hey, put me over that,
right,
nationwide, international, because y'all slow. Supposed to have a P-Tech in Ghana right now, and y'all dropping the ball.
Right.
So that brings me to the point. I don't want to overgloss the point of intentionality, and also in terms of longevity, because you said that you've been with IBM now for 13 plus years. Like, corporate world, especially the time frame of when we came out of school, y'all a year or two ahead of me. but we don't really stay at corporate that long. Pension plans been out the window. So 3 to 5. Everybody get 3 to 5. We bouncing around.
Pension gone for who? For who, AJ?
Listen. Quit throwing your money in my face, man. Look.
I ain't got no pension. I don't even know.
No. 401k is all I.
Right. That's all I got.
Of course, but so similar to what Alicia was saying, like just a quick aside to that, because I think people also get set up on this aspect too. You talked about the varying salaries of people coming out of college and what that looks like. Like, so for a lot of ladies who might be listening to this call, you have an opportunity to diversify corporate America, because we need to change the face of what it looks like. You bring your English degree in and you come in and you become a corporate trainer, and that's going to pay you twice as much as you would be otherwise. You have your psychologist who can come in and be an industrial psychologist, throw the word industrial in front of it, and now you got a $150,000 job. So I think opportunistically, we need to educate and help our ladies understand that they can take those transferable skills and come hang out right over here with us, because you're already great at the things that most people are not: time management, multitasking, and actually organizing and getting to an outcome. Women do that faster, quicker, better than most people ever learn how to do or can be trained to be. So it's not shocking to me when she says, I'm just going to call someone else, because that's the mentality, because it's had to be that way for so long. So some of the things that we've gone through culturally actually show up in a positive way, and we don't know it. We're scared to use it. And I think that's a trauma type thing. But AJ, I'm gonna throw it back to you, because what you were saying was funny. But yeah, bro, when I came in, I was the last year of my company that they gave pensions to employees, and they grandfathered us in.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, I've been blessed. You are now in the realm of our grandparents, where it's like, get yourself a good pension paying job
and stay there.
Stay there. Don't you move. Don't you move. Stay right there. Look.
Let me just say that was a I won't say it was a mistake. I will say, because I'm resigning tomorrow, that pause. I stayed at my job too long.
Yes.
Too long.
Yeah.
It was, that comes from our parents and our grandparents. You find that good job, right? And you stay there and you retire. No, I mean, as you mentioned, millennials, or whatever your generation is, I don't even know, because it changes. I'm a millennial, an old millennial, but we are not supposed to, based on society standards and looking on LinkedIn, stay at a job, as you said, longer than 4 years. I really think the average is like 2.5 years.
It
right?
is. It's 2.5 to 2.5 to 3.
It's consistently gotten shorter, because when we first got out, it was right around 5. And every 6 months, really, it's just tacking itself back and back. And like now, like you said, I'm looking up and I'm like, I thought, like, I know somebody who's moved up the corporate ladder 3 times in the past year, and it's 3 different companies, and the position has consistently gotten higher. So it's definitely a thing. But I don't want to gloss over the fact that you said you resigning tomorrow. So if you're listening to this, depending on when this releases, you might not have a connection. I'll take that back, because you move with intentionality and you move with integrity. So you always maintain. You don't burn bridges. You're not a person that burns bridges. But you might not have an in-house contact at IBM by the time you hear this.
Right. I'll plug you though.
That's. But I definitely want to applaud and shine spotlight on your persistence and your intentionality when it comes to moving around, because regardless of what the outcome of tomorrow may be, or whatever the day after this podcast is recorded may be,
we're gonna have to sign an NDA.
you just threw me off. You've moved with intentionality, and you've been able to maneuver. But this season we've talked about liquidity, longevity, and legacy. That's what it is. and you've been at your company for a long time. So you obviously created longevity in a society and a realm and an industry that doesn't really have it. I mean, let's be honest, IBM is one of the largest companies in the world, very technology driven, and technology is ever changing. And if you're not up on certain skills and all of the things that come along with it, you're out the door. If you've been there for a long time, you're out the door because you've been outdated by standards of current, and and then your legacy is you've brought P-Tech to Georgia, implemented initiatives in that thing. So just talk a little bit about your longevity and your legacy that you've created to this company. Whether you've been there too long or not, that's not for us to say, but you've been very intentional about it. And I just want to spend some time about that. Real quick, DJ, Princess is crying in the background, so take over for a second. But
I got you, bro.
Answer that for me, please.
Okay.
Oh. So my longevity and legacy, right? I am super proud to be able to leave IBM and leave a legacy. The P-Tech program in Georgia will forever be tied to me, right? Because they're gonna be like, well, Alicia's the one that brought that to the state of Georgia. It's always some way gonna come back to me. And I'm really proud of that, right? Because for me, that's a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
It's something that's going to hopefully live on forever in the state of Georgia. As I mentioned, I wanted to go from one school to hundreds of schools. And I'm hoping that the people that stand behind it will continue to push. As far as my longevity, as he mentioned before, 13 years is a really, really long time. I basically grew up here. It was my first job right out of Tuskegee. I've learned a lot, the memories, the friendships, the growth, right? Because I've been pushed to my limit a lot. But the skills that I have obtained over the last 13 years are going to equip me for my next role. And I'm super proud of that. I am. I said that I stayed too long, but I stayed long enough. It wasn't too long. It was long enough. That was my journey. And I'm proud that I am proud that it's coming to an end. I mentioned that I had some unfortunate things happen to me with a manager that could have literally destroyed my career, but I refuse to allow it to destroy my career. I just, and go back to sales or go back home, as I say, to move with intentionality and continue to push through. Because I had to.
It's crazy some of the things that you're bringing up, because there's probably 5 topics that we've covered for hours. We did a session on learning to be intentional, right? We did. So like AJ said, we came in this season and we said we were going to talk about liquidity, longevity, and legacy, because we wanted to see that in both our professional and personal lives. We wanted to hit every area. We wanted to take people with us. You touched on 2 of them, and I get the comments a lot from AJ and other friends. This is 14 years that I've been with my organization. We've morphed, we've grown, and what have you. And so even for myself and others that might be watching, when you say I have been here long enough, I know money is out there. We know that when you leave, it's the money dance.
Right.
But you also have to have balance and other things. So what drove you to be at a point where you said, you know what, other things are important to me, and I want to be able to be in a position where I can focus holistically on not only the things that are great about my job, but what's going to allow me, like the PATH program, what's going to allow me to maximize my potential and impact on the world.
Absolutely. I was actually looking around for my notebook, because when I, set out on this journey, I knew that at first it was just to get away, right? Really running away from, okay, y'all don't appreciate me. I'm gonna go and find somebody that, appreciates me. And it didn't happen immediately. I had to sit in it, right? I had to sit in that sales role and sit in everything and learn to get over the hurt. There was a whole process that I had to go through. I was really mad at God. Okay, now I wasn't happy in that role.
You playing with me.
Why am I still here? What is going on? But it obviously was still some lessons that I had to learn. So I really sat down. Actually, it was a friend of mine in January and said, look, you need if you want really want a new role, write down the list of things that are important to you and really like pray on it and manifest on it. And it really forced me to say, okay, in my next job, what are the things that are important to me outside of the bag? Because as you mentioned, we know when we switching a job, you better be getting another bag, a bigger bag. But it was really, I wanted to show up authentic. You know, it wasn't, I mentioned I've been at IBM 13 years. It wasn't until maybe 5 years ago I wore my hair natural at work.
You see my face? You see my face? Y'all both know in sales, in if you're an account manager, they wouldn't explicitly say it.
Right.
But it's
explicit. That's why I went to back of house, because I don't have no restrictions. Because they were, you know, granted, when I first got out of college, you know, getting everything to connect all the way through was a struggle. So I didn't really have to worry about it. I was very clean cut from jump anyway. But at a certain point, I was just like, you know, like, I can't grow a beard at all. Like, even if I wanted to, I can't. I don't like, you know, certain boundaries and restrictions I just don't want.
So it starts with those little things, like those microaggressions.
We got the Crown Act now, so
yeah. But in all seriousness, it starts so small, and you decide to ignore it because it's like maybe they didn't mean it that way. Yep. When I started addressing these things, my life got so much better at work. But
DJ was wearing the Steve Harvey suits, and they didn't like them because they were urban.
First of all,
right? Like, what is that?
First of all, you're absolutely right. And I was making a huge mistake. Anyway.
Hey, so you dressed like you got drafted with Carmelo now.
But basically, we did. That was when we came out.
It was, but
I got pictures of me and you in Dallas with shout out to Miss C. Shout out to Miss C. But I got pictures of us in Dallas, bro. Mm-hmm. I don't know what we were doing.
I got on an orange tie, man.
I know.
I got on an orange tie.
But I would do it today. I would do it today.
Straight off the rack.
way more comfortable. But let me come back to something you said, because I think it's important. You said you wanted to show up authentic, be able to be your full self. How do we help our sisters understand how to bring their full selves to work?
Woo, Lord, just do it. You have to lean into it. Own who you are. You got to be confident before you even show up for work. You know what I mean? Because if I wasn't confident with who I am outside of work, I definitely wouldn't show up that way at work, right? So lean into who you are. Own it. You know, if you want to wear your hair natural, wear your hair natural. If you want to wear hoop earrings, you know, wear hoop earrings. Because there was a time where I wouldn't wear anything like this. I literally
the diamond studs.
Yeah, studs. Hair pulled up, straightened, you know, definitely not any red lips. I literally just got off a call. I got on a Black Women Matter shirt. Yeah, I got on a blazer, you know, hoop earrings. I would normally do a stud. You know, I just do what you want to do. I mean, within reason, right?
Right.
I think we need to get to a point where we don't feel like we have to code switch. Now, I'm not going to be like, yo, what up to, you know, the CEO or anything like that. But when you're in this conversation, still be able to show up as, you know, Alicia, as AJ, as Destrian, or whoever you are. And just, it's got to be embedded. And we all individually have to help it become embedded into the culture of whatever organization you're at.
I remember there was one day, and we don't talk all the time, but when we do communicate, it's always love, it's always authentic. And I appreciate some of the things that you've said to me to kind of push me to be more bold and more vocal. So AJ knows, you know, I started going into the DE&I side as well, multicultural markets, and really showing up for us in corporate in those spaces. But one of the key things you told me was, no, Destrian, you go post that, you go do that, because representation matters. Talk to us a little bit about representation and why that's so important for you.
Oh my God, it's vastly important. As I was saying before, I didn't start wearing my hair natural until about 5 years ago. And that was literally because I seen a vice president come into the office, Black woman, a Delta, shout out to my sorors, and she wore her hair up in a puff. And I was like, we can do that? Like, I was literally fascinated. Because again, buttoned up, stud earrings, hair either straight or I wore my hair real short in the beginning, short and relaxed, And so to see that, I was like, yo, we can really do that. And she's a vice president. So I started wearing my hair natural. And when I explained that to her, because she's no longer at IBM either, I told her, I said, you're the reason why I started wearing my hair natural. It was your representation that allowed me to see that it's okay. It's absolutely okay. And so I try to do it for the next one coming behind me too, because somebody else is looking at me. Somebody else is always looking at us to see kind of like what's right and what's wrong. Right.
Right.
And I want to make sure that we don't gloss over the fact that you saw someone in a higher position than you do it. And then you felt more confident and more comfortable to do it or branch out on your own. There we go.
Yes.
Okay, look, okay. Empower, engage, and execute is how you can find Mr. Destrian Wells on Instagram. Empower, engage, and execute.
I love it.
But I definitely don't want to gloss over that because, some people get into that, the blinders on mentality where it's like, if my peers, and we think our peers are only the people, horizontal to us, but it's like, hey, vertically, if we doing it, then we know it's possible. And that's the truth and the power and representation, especially for women and women of color in corporate situations and anything similar to it, where you don't see a lot of, off bat, we don't see a lot of us blacks in any of these high positions. They will show us the one or two, and then we like, well, it's a Fortune 500. And we only got a handful. Right. Are we really being represented? But then you see the one who looks like you that you gravitate towards, and you're like, oh, you see the possibility. And then you see the things like, okay, she wears her hair natural and she's speaking to, 10,000 people and commanding their attention with natural hair. I can definitely do this in a room with 100 people.
Yes.
But you also have to get, and it's a tricky balance because you then need confirmation from that person that the approach that you take is not going to be one that's held against you. Because just for me, we were, like you said, it's a few employees that look like us. So we were hiring someone that looked like us, and we have this joke that all skin folk ain't kin folk. So I'm taking him out to lunch. I'm having a conversation with him, and I'm waiting for him to either make the aside to know do I have the all clear to really ask the questions that I need to ask to know if this is the company for me. So one thing I would like to tell all of you to do is when you get your quote unquote multicultural person in your interview, you do need to ask the questions that you want to ask. Like she said, have the conversation, because the company doesn't know that you're going to tell it all. They just know, hey, just send Destrian. So I asked him, I said, hey, look, I would love to connect with you outside of just us both being potentially Black employees here. He told me I do not identify as Black.
My guy.
Okay.
Look.
At that. Look, yes.
Look, DJ, real quick. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I can't give no time to that. I can't even give no time to that because, come on, man. It's like in the space.
I know, but the reason why I'm saying that is,
I know.
Alicia received some form of confirmation from this woman that she was approachable, and you have to be careful because don't assume now, because we have double agents working. Do not assume that because we look alike, we are alike. So
we're not, and it's a lot of skin folk that ain't kinfolk in corporate America.
Jesus Christ!
So it's very important to have the gift of discernment. Turn that thing on. Because you can tell, I can see him coming a mile away, right?
Absolutely.
The one that kind of fooled me was a former manager of mine who tried to fire me, and he was a Black man. That hurt me. Like, we supposed to be in this together. You supposed to be giving me the blueprint to make this thing happen, make this thing work. I go and do it, apparently better than you, and then you jealous? You trying to take me out the game?
You were a threat.
What part of the game is that?
You were a threat.
And then when I needed help, there were very little people that looked like me that threw me a lifeline. Now, the people that saved me did look like me. However, the folks that I knew had a boat full of lifelines, not just one, and they risking it on me. They had a boat full of lifelines that looked like me and were in higher ranking positions, executives and things of that nature. Didn't even answer the phone.
Grace and fear.
Get the I'm damaged goods now. We ain't doing nothing. And I think that's been one of the things that I've been keen on for a long time now. When I started to kind of make somewhat of an ascension, I wanted to keep people around me that were going to keep me accountable to who I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
So he's one of them. I watch how you move with your people. You're one of them. I give my wife a lot of credit for that too, because she ain't gonna let me get too far gone at all.
Love it, right?
yeah, not at all.
Or you call me one day with that stuff, and I'm gonna hang up in your face. I'm gonna be real with you. Sir.
No, you might come see me.
But I also want to point out that, coming from wherever you're from, we're not often exposed to a lot of us, right? Because we come in all shades, colors, types, and all. Right. And some of the ones who you think are kin ain't, and some of the ones who you think ain't is more kin than your kin. So I definitely want to point that out too, because I've met some, what we would consider down south some highfalutin ones, and it's like, oh look, that man just pulled out a bottle of Destrian's favorite.
It's in front of me right now.
Right. No, but you know what I'm saying? I've met some people that I've been in some rooms with some people. I'm like, you drinking Hennessy?
Right.
Disclosure, I don't drink Hennessy unless I'm with him. But I done met some people. It's like, you see that type, you see that guy, and you like,
gotta be honest. You gotta be honest.
That man don't drink.
I've gotten better. I now will purchase whiskey so it's at my house. So when you get here, you don't.
You do. Whenever I say I'm coming into town, you go to the store and specifically get whiskey, and I run through that bottle real quick, and then I hit the hen with you. It is what it is.
That's
but
cool.
We know we see those people in those places, and we automatically like, I don't think I can deal with them because they ain't where I'm at. But in actualities, and that's the thing where DJ, me and you've had this conversation before, and I think it plays a lot into corporate in general, where it's like lead with similarities with people. We often truly lead. We all, because of the way that we've been programmed, in a sense, we've been led to lead with differences. Like people will walk up and be like, "Are you a Republican or a Democrat? Are you black or you white? Are you this or you that?"
Like, let's just get to the
side. Right. Like, let's get into what you with. Like,
let's just get to the smoke right now.
Right, immediately. But it's like, instead of like just coming like, hey, we both in the plant section at Home Depot or Lowe's. You like plants? Yeah, I like plants. Let's start there. But we might not ever get to the point where we find a difference that will separate us.
But Alicia said it earlier, bro. She said we need to understand that people are people. Right? Yeah. Just meeting there. But I mean,
and that's something coming from a CCO, man. I just want to point that out. That is the hallmark of a CCO. And and what's crazy is you said that, but I've given something very similar of that title to a person we all know, Mr. Ian Evans. I've always said that, there are certain people who are gifted at connecting people, holding people accountable, all of those things that honestly, this should be a title at all corporations. Mm-hmm. If you are truly a chief of connecting people, there's no need for a specific DEI multicultural, because you are connecting with people on a people level. It ain't, I'm connecting with you because you black. And that's what's really kind of happening, let's be honest, with a lot of these creative positions. And they're placing us in these positions because, and some of these people ain't skin, whatever, because we, black and brown, whole nother conversation.
Balling my fists up right now because
whole that's the conversation.
That's but I'm gonna be quick and I'm gonna give it back to Alicia. But see, that's the danger. The danger is the typecast. That's what happens. So now we've typecasted black and brown folks. We put them over here in this box. they have certain jobs in our organization. Because right now, if you wanted somebody for tech, they will not go to an HBCU. They're not even going. We've been typecasted. So now you cannot allow initiatives to box us in. They're supposed to empower us to break out of the positions that we're in. And so that's a very big piece of it. When you put the wrong Black or brown person in a position of authority or power, who's putting self-interest above the cultural interest, we fuck.
Or you mean like putting a Black person in a position that's supposed to help Black people because they Black and that's the only qualification?
Right. And you know what? My new VP university at my new organization made a very valid point to what you just said. And she said, you cannot lean on life experiences alone, right? In this space, in the DEI social impact space, just because you're Black, you grew up Black, you identify as Black, does not make you qualified to be in the DEI space. What are you going to do with those life experiences? Yeah, okay, you grew up in the hood, you went to an HBCU, you feel like you identify with the culture.
What next?
You're not. Yeah, what's next?
Everybody ain't go to the hood. Everybody ain't go to an HBCU.
People in and through. Not just in, right? But you got to pull them through. I think that's where we get it fucked up at, is with these DEI programs. They getting people in. Why? Because they checking boxes. They're reaching these goals and things. We get them in. What? We got to pull them through. Pulling them all the way through to the top.
Are you promoting? So we are
building a bunch of concrete
glass ceilings.
Right.
No, not glass, because you can break glass. Bunch of concrete ceilings.
Yes.
Bunch of office buildings where you look. I don't know. Have y'all? What was the Sorry to Bother You, the movie?
I know what you're talking about.
Saw it, and they kept telling them like, "Hey, upstairs is where it's at. Upstairs. Nobody had ever been upstairs.
You can't get up there.
You can't get up there. When you finally get up there, you was like,
"This what y'all got?"
Right.
I was
cool back here. Man, we weren't making a bunch of money, but whole nother conversation.
Right.
Nah, it's all the same conversation, because like that's just the corporate thing. But what I wanted to ask her, just to transition just briefly, we don't have to get too deeply personal, but do you feel as if you're supported not only by other Black women, because I know you're in a sorority, I'm just talking about your corporate circle, but by Black men, because I know about the experience with your manager because we spoke briefly, but I think it's so unfortunate that we don't allow each other. If you were managing me and you say, I think Destiny can actually do this better than me, I'm going to try to raise you up, because I know, hey, if he goes, he'll take me with him too. And we don't do that. So how do you feel the support has been, and what could you offer, both men and women of color, to do to better support each other in a corporate capacity? Because I think we get fearful of each other's success as well.
Yeah, we have to leave the crab in the barrel bullshit aside. And I really only find, and maybe this is my own bias, but I only really find that kind of thought process to be with Black people that attended PWIs. I'm not coming for them. It is what it is. But they're competing not only against each other, but against white folks as well. I don't find that I've had any issues with other Black people that attended AUs, because I feel like we're there and trying to help each other.
Get it.
When somebody do the homework one day, I do the homework
Template's business house, baby.
We get it.
Template's business house.
And it's crazy because I just recently attended HBCU night for the Knicks and the Nets.
Nice.
And that was kind of something that came up constantly in conversation. Like, I randomly walked up to everybody that I saw that had on an HBCU sweatshirt and was just like, "What's up? I love you." And it was expressed back. Now I'm being so serious. Like, I literally walked up to a group of Lincoln University people. Shout out to them. They were taking a picture, and I jumped in with my Tuskegee. Was like, "What's up? HBCU love. I love all y'all." And there's no, what I'm saying? Like, it's something about us. There is something within the culture of us, of HBCU.
Right. We get it.
We get it. We know that, what I'm saying, there is and that was addressed too, because there was an HBCU panel earlier tonight where there is the inequities within HBCUs. There's the the Black Ivy League, so to speak, and then there's the others who, who don't get as much recognition and funding and all of that. And we all literally is like, hey, we all ain't getting funded. You know what I'm saying? So the ones at the top, top 5, 10, that's always in everybody's name getting funded, but compare them to their next door neighbor. Absolutely. They ain't nowhere near it.
Yep. Yep.
So I definitely know that there is that inherent knowing of, hey, you went to HBCU too? I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. You know about a struggle that's not really a struggle. It's
an experience.
A parable.
Bro.
It's a parable.
It's an experience.
It's a parable. It's like the Bible. It's like you had to go through that to make you better than you could ever have come out any other situation. And I know that for a fact with us.
You literally had to manage your education, right? So you had to oversee, you had to manage your education.
But we also had people that really truly gave a hell about us.
Facts.
Like, but I tell people, I can't, like, every time I do the career fair, the college fair, I tell people, I'm like, I still got my professor's numbers in my phone.
She was at my wedding.
Sean, Dr. C, is literally my big sister. She calls my mother and my father mama and papa. Shout out to my sister, because she's known me since I was a child. Through Divine and all of that, she became my professor in college. But,
wow.
Freeman, both of them.
Oh.
We could go down the list of the people that we've interacted with that truly cared about us. They knew that it was a Friday on the yard. And, hey, I know you wasn't in class.
I got it.
I know you wasn't in class, but hey, the teachers and the professors that know, like, hey, I know you a good person. I know what you come from. It's midterms. Here goes some extra credit. Like, you don't get lost in the pile. You don't get lost in the number at a HBCU. And it's truly a privilege. Yes. That's one of the things that's Black people that I tell people all the time. You mentioned it earlier. Like, we do have a Black privilege. Like, I know when I'm going to certain places, concerts and events and stuff, Black people at the gate, they ain't really checking for me because I'm Black. Let's be real. So I'm walking, what's good, brother? You having a good day? Hey, I appreciate what you're doing, man. Go ahead, man. Hey, I see you doing your thing. I appreciate you. I'm going to leave you a little tip in the jar. They pour a little extra in my cup. Things like that. That's Black privilege. Sorry to say, some of y'all ain't going to get it.
That's Black culture, bro.
That's culture, but it comes along with the privilege. Like, we inviting everybody to the cookout, but they still ain't going to get that privilege.
Let me explain something to you. Then I want to get Alicia's opinion. So that's a shared thing that we have amongst each other. And sometimes I'm careful to call it privilege because it's not impacting broader society. We are sharing the opportunity to uplift each other. I call it encouragement. I appreciate the encouragement. I'm in this position, I can do something. The privilege will come in when I am the COO of my organization and I implement a strategy that says the tie goes to the Black person. Because I have been in those planning meetings where we need to move those numbers, and I've been told the tie goes to XYZ type of candidate. So I'm telling you right now, those conversations happen. My job, my goal now is to put myself in a position where the tie can go to other people that look like us, qualified people that look like us. Right. Because the thing is, all things being equal, we'll never get to a place of balance because you're trying to overcome centuries of shit that was set up for you not to participate in. So you have to be, you used the word earlier, intentional. You have to be intentional about it. I'll give my company credit. 3 years ago, we said that we have less than 3% women in leadership. They said the tie goes to the woman. If the woman is equally as qualified as the man, we're not even having a discussion about this.
Right.
Guess who's still disenfranchised in that discussion? Alicia. Because she hasn't even been able to be promoted to the level to be considered for that job. She was a number on the diversity scale. She came in, she's still a sales associate after 6 years. She can't be considered for those director level roles. although she's helping the person in that role perform their duties to the highest of abilities. So I'm saying that to say sometimes it's not privilege, it's encouragement. But I do understand where you're coming from with that. From an HBCU perspective, I think we enjoy certain privileges because of where we went. I've been to Lincoln. I've been to a couple of other universities that I go and recruit at because they're underserved and underrepresented, specifically in corporate America. So I think holistically, we have to advocate for the most qualified person of color getting the opportunity to break the tie. And when we get there, now you're talking about inclusion, because everything outside of there, we're going to say, hey, well, what major did you have? Because we want to hire psychology majors. They're diverse. You're skipping over everything before you address this Black and brown problem. And more specifically, the issue of women, especially in financial services or tech. So yeah, there's not many Black men, but Black women are non-existent. Latino women are damn near non-existent. And so that's something that we have to overcome. But Alicia, you've been in those same rooms. Tell me and tell us about those conversations that you've heard about hiring. These are hiring practices, right? This is a systemic type of thing. Yeah. This is not a homeboy got a problem, homegirl got a problem. This is systemic. All companies follow these same practices because they share them.
I got the question I want to ask you in this very straightforward form. Because DJ, you really hit on the power of your privilege. Like when we get into these positions, unbeknownst to us, we still have to remember things like you said, where it's like, oh, well, because I'm in this position, I can go gather up all of the qualified people, but a lot of the people that's qualified and truly qualified, and we know they truly qualified, the ones who can actually talk to people, the ones who can actually manage people, the ones who have communication skills, not just the ones whose numbers were great. Because we've been in corporate, we know numbers mean promotions. And even though you really nice and everybody likes you and gets along with you, they will never make you a manager when you should be, because you have the qualities that a manager needs. But that's the power of privilege. But the question I want to ask you to frame all of this into one piece is, how do you in the corporate structure make yourself the tiebreaker?
The tiebreaker, what's the tie between me and another?
Like how DJ said, where it's, you in this room now, and the conversations have always been, well, hey, if it come down to a man and a woman, we giving it to a man. But, you've been in a position where you've asserted yourself, you've communicated, you've been upfront and integral and honest about it. Like, hey, no, this is what we need. So once you get past the point of what I need personally, like, hey, Alicia needs a different position. I want to be in events and all of that. Now you parlay it into, okay, Alicia's okay right now. I need everybody else that looks like me, that has something in common with me, mostly being a woman. I need them now to be in the conversations that we have. How do you, what do you do, and how do you make yourself that tiebreaker then? Because some people will get into that position, communicate what they want, and then leave it at that because they cool. How do you not get comfortable? I think is the real question. How do you not get comfortable where you at? Because you good, right?
Right. You can't get comfortable. I always keep my eye on the prize, and every individual should have what that end prize is, right? You ain't necessarily got to share it, but for me, I know that I want to be, if I'm gonna stay in corporate America, let's say that. If I'm gonna stay in corporate America, I want to be the vice president of diversity and inclusion. And I knew that there were certain steps that I needed to take, to get there. Are we taking shots? I missed it.
Oh,
no, I'm just sipping throughout.
That's all you're gonna see from him. Like,
right. I'm like, oh, I didn't get that memo.
We're reasonable adults.
There you go. I do still have to work tomorrow after I turn in my resignation. No, I'm just kidding. But again, it just always goes back to the intentionality and keep my eye on a prize and remembering my why. Someone recently asked me, like, well, how did you, because it took me 2 years to get, that's one thing I left out. It took me 2 years to get the P-Tech program to Georgia. And when I was interviewing, they asked me, well, why did you keep, you know what I mean? Why did you keep going? That was a lot of work, you know, things that you had to navigate, challenges, obstacles, so on and so forth. Always remembered my why, and the why was those kids. The why was, you know, that first generation college graduate, you know, a graduate with not only a high school diploma but an associate's degree in cybersecurity, and getting that $80,000 plus job and being able to pour back into their community and you know, pay for things that, you know, they never would have thought would have been possible. So it's always the why. Like, okay, all right, I'm in this room. I know that if it ain't me, it's going to be somebody else. And I don't want it to be somebody else. So what is about me and my experiences that makes me different? And I always bring it back to the relatability. We talk about people being people and humans being humans. A lot of times, a lot of my success has come down to being relatable, showing up as human, being easygoing, being easy to talk to. And that probably also comes from my sales background. I walk into a room and I'm finding instantly, what am I going to relate to you on? Right. And people, I've had many sales conversations that didn't end up in a sale, but it ended up in a friend. And that's probably not good initially, but you've got to build that. And so people, they always say people buy from people that they like. People hire people that they like. So I made sure that when I was, you know, interviewing and things of that nature in these rooms, that I allowed my personality to shine through. Yes, you can read my resume. It's a mile long. It's 3 pages. However, I am going to be able to go in a room with Sally, Jackie, Daquan, and Karen and bring it home and be able to relate to all of them because of my life experiences and things that I've been exposed to. And then while I'm doing it, I'm also making sure Keisha coming right behind me.
And that's how you break the tie.
Yes.
That's how you break the tie. Because again, going back to what you asked, AJ, I think the whole thing is, again, we get the best of us. When I say the best of us, I'm not necessarily talking about some elitism type of thing, but you need to bring the best of yourself forward so that other people.
I'm gonna help you real quick, DJ. I hate to interrupt you, but I'm you know, I like to give us context.
Handle your business.
When we speak like that, we talk. Everybody don't want to be, you know, the VP. Everybody don't want to be an entrepreneur. There are some people who are just fine with doing a regular 9-to-5 blue collar, quote unquote, job. And they take pride in that, and they will like that, and they will do that for however many years they feel like it. And long as their family and their lifestyle is sustained, they're okay with that. And we will never and should never shame those people. But I just want to make sure we frame in the conversation that, you know what I'm saying? Because you already know some people are like, oh, DJ said, oh, you know, this. Like, no.
I almost really said something right there. Anybody that know me, know.
No. But DJ, we international now. We got one listener in Netherlands and things like that.
Listen, bro. Let me respond to that. I'll use the term. Let me clarify myself because I ain't.
Let's use politically correct term. Blue collar, white collar, and rich as fuck.
No, because it don't matter. I got people at my job. I got people downtown Philly right now. When I walk in, they do thank you calls for $100,000, and they're like, "Look, I don't need to do nothing else. This is good. I'm cool." That person has decided.
Wait. They do thank you calls for $100,000. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Look. Both of us like, excuse me.
Here's the point. You're supposed to be selling something.
Oh.
But again, we talked about how people get to numbers. I need to make X amount of calls. How many people bought from me yesterday? Hey, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Thank you. If there's anything I can do, that's a thank you. I call it it's not a sales call.
Okay, I'm
it's
like
a thank you call, right? So all I'm saying is that those things exist, but they do that because they're like, look, I didn't even think y'all was gonna pay me this. So I'm gonna chill out right here. I'm good. I don't judge people that do what they want to do. What I'm saying is my job is to create the opportunity and have what Alicia said, the conversation. If I see that you can do something else, maybe ain't nobody talk to you about it. Wasn't nobody talking to me until I asked to have the conversation. Like, hey, what's up? Like,
right.
I didn't even know this job exists. So I can Me and AJ, we done talked about this. I don't need to say this.
It comes back to that old school saying where it's like closed mouths do not get fed.
Listen.
At all.
It's like, hey, it's I put it, and I take it a step further to put it to the analogy where it's like we brought everybody to the buffet. Some people not gonna want to get up and fix their own plate, and that got to be on them.
That's and
it got to be on them. But
that's the point.
If you got enough connections and you just a likable person, somebody will fix your plate for you. But how long will it last? And you got to be realistic of that expectation.
Well, those people, you might get your plate fixed once, but then the person that's fixed it,
I want seconds and I want thirds.
Did you eat this food? What did you say? Thank you. I'm telling. Listen, y'all talked about. I think Alicia was talking about brand and image. Her brand.
Yes.
People get it. People get it twisted. They're like, oh, the way I look at work is my brand. No, the way people experience you is your brand. You got to stop thinking that when people see you, it's over right there. Man, you could come in smooth, underperformer, late for work, non-responsive, don't do this, combative, hard to deal with. That's men and women.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do nothing for you with that. I can't break a tie with that. You can't do it.
Chill out. Stop giving them all of that. Stop giving them all of that.
You did this. Going back to what you said about the construction worker, the whomever. Every job has a hierarchy. If you don't want to sit at the top of the tree on your job, that's your choice. My job is to say, I want to offer you the encouragement and support and let you know that people that look like you sit on the top of something every day. And if you want it, you can have it. And if you don't, and you good, what else are you doing outside of your 9 to 5 with your time to make sure that if something happens to you, you and the people you like, love, and care about are good? Which brings me to my next point. Alicia, you do so much corporately, you do so much in the community. What are you doing for yourself and your personal brands where we can support and help you?
I appreciate that. So I'm actually working on a pet apparel line called HBCU Pets. I birthed this business actually back in 2012. Yes, it's been 10 years. I was at the University of North Carolina with my cousin, Angelica. Shout out to her for like Christmas or Thanksgiving or something like that. I was picking her up, was headed to Virginia. And I love bookstores. And at the time I had my Yorkie Mackenzie with me, my first Yorkie, and we went to the bookstore. And I was astounded by, first of all, how big the bookstore was, but really how big the area was for pet stuff. And I'm like, Black people love their pets too, right? And being on a campus of Tuskegee University, and we have a vet college, and to not have that much like pets for this stuff, it kind of pissed me off. And I remember, I haven't been to every HBCU there is, but I've been to a few of it. And I remember that representation for pets wasn't there. And that's when my brand was birthed in 2012. And I admit I was scared. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I just created this thing. I didn't tell nobody. I told a couple people, but it wasn't until 2020. Shout out to my best friend, Dominique, also a Tuskegee grad, double Tuskegee grad. And she said, yo, you ready to do this business or what? Sometimes it takes somebody, you close to the light fire under your ass. Like, what are you going to do?
Kick you in the ass a little bit.
Right? Because you're potentially sitting on a multi-million-dollar brand.
Right.
The pet industry is a multi-billion-dollar brand, and I just want a piece of it. So I got some things in motion. I got a website. I've got some prototypes. My trademark hopefully will be back by my birthday in May. And I want to launch this summer, and I keep pushing the launch date back, but I really have been trying to lean into the corporate side because my corporate side is going to fund my dream, right? Let's just be really honest. I'm not prepared to walk away from my 9 to 5 yet. But HBCU Pets is super special to me. I'm a dog mom of all dog moms, Destry.
Yes.
I love my fur baby, and I love my HBCU. So again, bringing that passion, and bringing it forward so that people that, and it's not just for HBCU grads too. Let me say that it's for students, grads, fans, and supporters. Like if you love HBCUs, we'll have something for you. And like I said, look out for it to roll out hopefully by the summer of this year. I'm pushing hard to really make it happen. So I'm super excited.
I love that.
Let me hop in real quick. We'll hold off on this for a while because people be people. And I know for a fact that is a very, very niche market. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I know that for a fact. So yeah, if you are looking for partners, we have a holding company of investment firm that is.
We move.
Stop. We'll take that offline. Stop. We'll take it offline.
Yeah.
But one of the last things I want to ask you, honestly, is because it's been a consistent theme throughout this. Is you've consistently stayed focused. You knew what you wanted. You knew what your goals were and things that. But we've also lamented to the fact that you got to consistently change the prize, right? If your eyes are always on the prize, DJ told a story before about this guy who his only goal was to get to the Olympics, and he got there, but he lost. And he kind of noticed, and in retrospect, he was like, well, my goal should have been to win. He didn't set a very specific
He didn't set the proper goal.
Right, like I just want to get to the Olympics. I didn't want to say I want to get to the Olympics and get silver, gold, bronze, medal, whatever it was. But it was like, but then again, even in corporate, and we know with corporate ever shifting, ever changing, positions getting renamed. The corporation that I was with for years changed our titles 3 times, and I was there for 6 years. And this was all sales, very sales oriented, but we went from, sales reps to experience and all of these other titles, right. Customer and corporate experience, all of these different titles, because, it is what it is. But real quick, just a little bit about being able to have the insight, if necessary, because we've already talked about the fact that some people, we cool where we at. Some people cool where they at. But being able to effectively and consistently change the prize, change the finish line, change the goal, because oftentimes we spend so much energy to hit that line, break the tape, lean forward, and now we out. Whew, glad I got here. All right, let me chill out for 10. Right. Let me go ahead, sit for 10 and collect. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
So I do agree that the prize, does always change. And that was good, Bestrian, the example that AJ alluded to when you said the man wanted to get to the Olympics, but he didn't set a specific goal that he wanted to win, right? So he probably trained just to get to the Olympics, but didn't train to get gold or bronze or silver. I mean, that is so powerful, right? Because I think a lot of times we visualize the bigger goal, forget about the steps to get there. And then once we get there, one thing that I was asked recently in my 30, 60, 90-day plan, like, what do you want to do in the first 30 days? Celebrate the goal that I accomplished, because we set these goals, we get them, then we like, all right, that was great. On to the next one. But I think we need to allow ourselves to relish in the moment for a minute, you know what I mean? And like, take it all in, like, dang, I made it. And then get back on it. Like, okay, well, what's next? Like, for example, I set a goal. I had, you don't know really what $100,000 is until you get it and you realize, okay, this ain't really a lot of money. No knock to nobody that ain't making $100,000. But my point is, you think that the goal is lofty until you get it. But then you need to make an even loftier one, right? I feel like people, especially Black people, we always need to be challenging ourselves. Not to the point where it messes with your mental health or anything like that, right? Come on. Within reason, because it gives you something to strive toward, right? So once I meet this goal, okay, so what's the next thing? I bought my first house almost 4 years ago. I'm already planning, what's the next one look like? What am I going to do to align myself? I mentioned before, passively that if I stay in corporate America, these are going to be my goals. I recently, now I mentioned that I'm transitioning from IBM to a different corporation. I only plan to work corporately for another 5 years. Then I want my brand, HBCU Pets, and some other things that I'm working on to replace my 9-to-5 salary so that I can work for myself. So in the next 5 years, the prize got to keep changing. Alicia, what's the prize for the next 2 years? I'm gonna break it down. What's the prize for the next 2 years? To lean into this role and then,
dominate it.
Yeah, dominate that thing.
Dominate it.
The next, whether that be inside that corporation or another one. But
the thing that's so encouraging with what you're saying about me, I used to have similar like conversations with my management, and I didn't get along with all of my managers because I asked them to not manage me. I asked them to lead me. I don't need you to manage me.
Hold on. I'm sorry. What you say to them folk?
I don't need you to manage me. I need you to lead me. I'm gonna show up at work on time. I mean, I'm an adult.
What they say, take me to the water.
Man, bro, listen. I'm show up at work, I'm on time, I'm an adult, right? The second piece of that is some people will not help you. They'll just say, well, I'm not hurting you. But if you're not helping me, you are. Yeah. And so I was really having these conversations at work, bro. And I ended up with a really good manager, like the one I shared the story with you about. That was life-changing for me. And it didn't have to happen like that, but it did. And a lot of things that Alicia said, I wholeheartedly agree with, because I told him, I said, I view my job as a long-term internship until I can run my own company. Why do you want me here for 30 years?
Jesus Christ, pedestrian. How do you have the confidence to tell those people that kind of revelation?
Because I started understanding what was happening around me, and I'm like, I can do this. I can do that. All I need to do is learn it and master it and then go do it. So in my world, you have to file what's called outside business activities. The list of my outside business activities got me called into a meeting. What are you doing? Planning. I'm planning. But I had a plan. I told him, I said, I can't wake up at 45 and say I'm starting a consulting business. I need to say I've been doing this for 20 years. So if you guys are listening, start it now. Get your on-the-job training at work, like Alicia is saying. The only thing she's saying to you, I'm going to export my gifts into my own business. And if they would like me to remain a consultant, they can pay me a fee to consult them. And I think we all know that consultants get the love that the employees don't. Now I'm gonna shut my mouth right there, and I'm gonna let this go. But
that shit got that bad.
Consulting is one of the most general terms and the most highest paid terms in the realm of business. If you know business, consultants have no range. No. Google it right now and say, what's the salary range for a consultant?
It says what the person, it's what you can negotiate.
Right.
Yep.
The sky is truly the limit. Biggie said it, and he wasn't even a consultant. But if you wanted to hire him as a rap consultant, you was gonna pay high.
So many of us have these burning passions and desires inside of us. And before we wrap, let me just say this. Part of the intention that we had from a BREADren podcast standpoint this month, we wanted to honor and highlight Black women who are out here getting it. They're moving, they're shaking, they're being bold, they're challenging norms, breaking through status quos. And I would like to ask the brothers to assist in that. So if you're managing a sister that you know has high potential, and then ladies, if you're managing a sister who has high potential, where she goes, you can go. We do not have to pull each other back. And it's super unnecessary, but we wanted to definitely recognize Women's History Month, and we've honored a few of our Tuskegee ladies, and we hope to be able to do the same at least once more before the month is out. But this just goes to show you the plethora of talent that rests in the laurels of our own communities that we're not tapping into. So if you don't know Alicia Brandon, get to know her. Brand coming soon. Plenty of ways that you can tap into her. I'm sure the events function is going to be on and popping as well. She's ready to export all of these things. So when corporate says,
conversations to be had,
hey, listen, very seriously. But AJ, I'm gonna throw it back to you. We can close and wrap, but I actually feel like there's a part 2 to be had on this. If she would have us,
look, there's
I
a
would be
there.
delighted.
Look, I'm gonna be like my brother Desha said. I'm gonna be brief, because I need to wrap this soon. So that there's a bit of offline conversation that has to be had. In all honesty, with our audience, we appreciate y'all for tuning in so far and thus far. Because if you've made it to this point in the conversation, you have had to be truly, if not inspired, blessed by the conversation. That's not to toot my own horn. It's not to toot our horn. It's not to toot Alicia's horn. It's just
what she said.
I genuinely believe that, based on all of our integrity, that good conversation was had and something could be brought from this conversation for anybody that's listened, wherever you are, whether it was confirmation that you okay with your goals, or whether it was confirmation that your goals ain't lofty enough. Something was gained from this conversation, and that's the only thing that we want for any and everybody. You ain't got to be black or brown to listen to us and get inspired by it, but just know it's FTC at all times over here for the culture, because that's what we come from and represent first. But to close us out and finish us off, I have to ask the final question of why? Why you just, why you just do what you do? Why you still choose to walk into these spaces and places that we ain't really supposed to be, or they just invited us in for a second, or because it was a fad? Why you choose to go in there and be yourself? We definitely appreciate you for doing it, but why? And we know, as a black man in corporate America, as a black man in corporate America, as black men in corporate America, as black folk in corporate America, it ain't easy to get up 5, if not more days a week and go in there and be as much of ourselves as we can, without being too much of ourselves, right? Because we know our counterparts. You say good morning, they'll tell you their life story. Ma'am, I just said good morning, and where's the sugar? You done told me that another story for another time. But why you still get up, go to your job at the Fortune 50 company, and continuously, obviously the 5 years ago, however many years ago, you got the courage and the confidence to be yourself. And that person's gone now. How did you keep that confidence when they left to say, you know what, okay, I might be the only one who's still doing it now? Why you do it?
Anyway. So I feel like I've earned the right. I've earned the right to, I stand confidently on my credentials, on my accolades, on the backs of those.
I'm sorry. What you just said.
Yes.
What did you do? You earned the right.
I earned the right.
How dare us feel like we earned something in this country? Say it one more time. I hate to make you start over, but please, one more time for the folks in the back, the folks they didn't get in, the folks who will get in later. Why you do it?
Listen. I have earned the right to be in these spaces. My credentials, my accolades, they all speak for themselves. I stand on the backs of those that came before me. Shout out to Wangui, who I mentioned, the reason why I wear my hair natural today, and I just feel like it's my duty and my responsibility to do the same for those coming behind me. And as I mentioned, I want to pull them in and pull them through, because that's the only way we're going to provide the representation that we need in the spaces. And they're not just pulling chairs out and saying, sit here. We need to bring the whole motherfucking table and put chairs there for our people and make sure that we in these spaces.
Smoke. double barrel, smoke.
Absolutely. My line sister, April, she always says, move with the confidence of a mediocre white man. And I always keep that in the back of my head because you can have white men go into spaces and they own that shit. They don't even know how to do the job. Look at Donald Trump. He was the whole president for 4 years. Ain't been a president or nothing other than his companies that are all scams, I'm sure, right? And he was the president of the United States. Mediocre. He did not have the credentials. He didn't qualify. He ain't never been to law school. He was a businessman. A hell of a businessman. Because he talked that thing up into the White House. So I move every day with the confidence of a mediocre white man. If he can do it, so can I. And so can you.
AJ, that's it.
As I like to say, yikes on a bike. That thing rolling down the hill and ain't got no brakes. Jesus. Listen. It's gonna be a lot of offline conversation that's had as soon as I click this stop button. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another, I say it at the beginning, and I'd be meaning that, rousing rendition of the podcast of what we like to call the Cocktail Convo. Shout out to our illustrious co-host, Dr. Ajamu Loving, PhD, CFP. And I don't know when this will happen again. You know, it may not never happen again, but I've had my other illustrious co-host, Mr. Deshaun Wells, join me this evening. May not never happen again. This will be in video format exclusively on Spotify, so y'all make sure y'all go see my reactions, because there's a couple of times where I just, you know, I am just dumbfounded by the confidence, the integrity, and the know-how of our guest, Miss Alicia Brandon, CCO, Chief Connections Officer. For all who will listen, let her in the room and will shut up and let her speak. But professionally, she works for a corporation, because by the time this episode comes out, it may or may not be who we talked about. It may be who we talk about in the future. That's why you consistently change the prize, and you have to understand your power and privilege. And it's okay if you at where you at and you like where you at. Don't let nobody dictate where you at. Don't let nobody steal your joy. Comparison is the thief of that. Remember that. That's going to do it for us here at the BREADren Podcast and Cocktail Convos. Miss Alicia Brandon, if you want to, tell the people how they can find you if they need you in your expertise.
Absolutely. So I'm on Facebook as Alicia Brandon. You can find me, actually follow my business page at HBCU Pets. And thank you guys so much for having me this evening.
No problem. And I will put that in the descriptions. I'll put the HBCU Pets in the descriptions. Because Alicia is probably at the friends limit, like most of us that went to the illustrious Tuskegee University. Everybody loves us. But with that being said, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. There's nothing you can do about it. Make sure you're following us on all social media. You can find us and listen to us on all your DSPs, that's digital service providers, at BREADren Pod. That's BREADREN POD. Bread, like bread, because we always talking about our bread, because we getting bread. We love y'all, and there's nothing you can do about it. Peace.